10:18 a.m., the 4th of February, 1935. The stone steps outside Courtroom 6A, at the Westbridge Municipal Building, uptown Manhattan, where the air tastes like coal smoke and cheap ink. A man in a gray overcoat pressed a subpoena into Bumpy Johnson's hand, like it was a tip. Then he smiled, too polite, and said, "See you in 7 days." The paper was warm from his palm. The ink was still sharp, and Bumpy didn't look at the man's face first. He looked at the seal. Because in this city, a seal means somebody higher up already. Nodded. Yes, freeze that, because this wasn't a summons. It was a trap disguised as paperwork. And the question isn't, why is Bumpy in court? The question is, who needs him boxed in so bad they're willing to make the courthouse a weapon? But that wasn't the end. Because 7 days later, a courtroom that usually 8 men whole would turn into a stage. Bright, loud, humiliating, for the wrong people. And the scariest part, power didn't show up with a gun. It showed up with a timeline. No, listen, this is a dramatized street, legend telling. Not a claim of strict historical accuracy. A story about how systems squeeze and how a calm man can squeeze back without touching anybody. Bumpy's real power wasn't violence. It was access. 2 names to favors. To the small, boring levers, permits, licenses, affidavits that decide who gets to breathe in peace. The city doesn't run on rules. It runs on favors. And lately, Harlem's favors had been getting denied. Storefronts inspected until they failed. Tenants reviewed until they broke. Liquor licenses delayed until a man learned humility. Bank notes called in like the bank was suddenly sentimental. Paper can kill you in this town. That's why the subpoena felt like a blade wrapped in vellum. Bumpy turned the paper over once. Slow. The man who served it, Lionel Rusk, watched with a lawyer's eyes and a gambler's patience. Rusk's tell was a silver tie clip he adjusted every time he lied. And he lied like breathing. "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Johnson," Rusk said gently. "This is routine." Routine, that word, is how the system walks up behind you. Behind Rusk, lingering by a pillar-like furniture that could move, stood Moe Varga, broad shoulders, soft shoes, eyes empty. His tell was rubbing a signet ring with a folded handkerchief, like he hated fingerprints. He leaned in once, barely audible. "Easy," Moe murmured. Inside the building, the institutional face waiting to swallow this whole was Judge Cormac Harlan, black robe, sharp jaw, reputation for rushing poor men through justices, like it was a factory line. His tell was snapping a rubber band against his fingers, and the phrase he used when he wanted control, "Keep it moving." Judge Harlan would say, like human lives were paperwork. Those 3 were the trap. Rusk would bait, Moe would press. Harlan would stamp, and somewhere behind Rusk's smile, there was a name people whispered like a weather warning. Dutch Schultz not in the room, not in the paperwork, but in the intention. Because Dutch didn't need to appear to be present. He just needed the system to lean his way. Bumpy looked at Rusk, calm. 7 days, Bumpy repeated. Rusk smiled wider, tie clip adjusted. "See," Rusk said, "you understand deadlines." Bumpy's voice stayed soft. "I understand traps," he replied. Rusk chuckled, amused. "Then you'll appreciate this one." Moe's handkerchief rubbed the ring again. "Easy," Moe murmured. Bumpy folded the subpoena once, clean. Then he made his promise, quiet enough to miss if you weren't listening. 7 days, Bumpy said. "That's generous." Rusk lifted an eyebrow. "Generous." Bumpy's eyes didn't blink. "It's enough time," Bumpy said, "for the truth to catch up to your paperwork." Day 1, Harlem heard about the subpoena before Bumpy reached his car. That's how neighborhoods work when they've been under pressure long enough. In the back booth of Savoy de Lis, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees. Bumpy laid the subpoena flat on the table. Little Leon Vega, his runner, young and too quick, leaned over it like it might explode. "They pulling you into court." Leon whispered. Miss Odessa sat across. Hat tilted, eyes sharp as needles. The numbers queen, the older broker. Her tell was she never blinked first. "They ain't pulling," Odessa murmured. "They dragging." Ruthie Caldwell, journalist, ink stain on her index finger like a permanent warning, slid into the booth beside them. "A subpoena from a private complainant," Ruthie said quietly. "That's theater." Bumpy looked up. "Theater needs a script." A chair scraped. Eddie Glass, former cop turned contact. Tired eyes, steady hands sat down like he'd been expected. "I heard the name Lionel Rusk," Eddie said. "He ain't just a lawyer." Leon frowned. "What he is?" Eddie's voice was flat. "He's a courier for rich anger." Odessa sipped her tea. "And Moe Varga." Eddie's jaw tightened. Muscle with manners. Ruthie tapped her notebook once. "So what do they want?" Bumpy didn't hesitate. "Control," he said. "They want me to swing first. They want me in cuffs for contempt, or threats, or whatever word makes the headline polite." Leon swallowed. "And what if you don't?" Bumpy's eyes stayed calm. "Then they try to box me with paper," he said. "So we unbox it." Ruthie leaned in. "How?" Bumpy's voice went low. "With one object." Odessa raised an eyebrow. "You got something." Bumpy nodded once. "Not yet," he said. "But I know what we need." Day 2. The proof had to be the kind that doesn't argue. Not rumor. Not reputation. A signed affidavit. Exactly. One, a sworn statement from somebody inside the machine. Someone who saw the squeeze up close and could name it with dates, because power isn't always a gun. Sometimes it's a timeline. Deddy had a lead, a court clerk who'd been encouraged to fast, track certain filings tied to Harlem properties. Her name was Marlene Quill. She wasn't brave. She was tired, and tired people become dangerous when they decide they've got nothing left to protect. They met her in a cramped laundromat on 125th, where steam hissed, quarters clinked, and detergent smell covered fear like perfume. Marlene sat on a plastic chair, hands trembling around a coffee cup. "I can't," she whispered. Deddy kept his voice gentle. "You can." Marlene's eyes darted. "If Judge Harlan finds out I talked." Bumpy's voice was calm, almost kind. "Then Judge Harlan will learn. You're not alone." Marlene laughed once, sharp. "Alone is all I am." Miss Odessa leaned forward slightly. "Baby, alone is a feeling, not a fact." Ruthie's pen hovered. "What did you see?" Marlene swallowed. "I saw motions stamped same day," she said. "I saw filings disappear for weeks. I saw a list." Marlene's voice dropped. "A list of addresses, Harlem addresses, the ones they want cleared." Eddie's eyes narrowed. "Who made the list?" Marlene hesitated, then whispered, "Lionel Rusk brought it, said it was community concern." Ruthie's jaw tightened. "So the lawyer's feeding the court." Marlene nodded, terrified. "He knows people." Bumpy's eyes stayed soft. "Names and dates, Marlene." Marlene looked at him like he was asking her to jump off a roof. "I can write it," she said. "But it won't survive." "Why?" Leon asked. Marlene glanced around the laundromat like the dryers had ears. "Because they'll seize it," she said. "They'll call it forged. They'll bury me." Bumpy nodded once. "That's why it has to be done right," he said. "Signed. Witnessed, marked." Marlene's mouth tightened. "Marked how?" Bumpy's voice stayed even. "Red stamp." Diddy exhaled. "You got access to a stamp?" Miss Odessa smiled without humor. "Baby, everybody got a stamp. Some just don't admit it." Day 3. They got the affidavit drafted in Ruthie's cramped apartment, where the radiator clanged like a warning, and the hallway smelled like frying onions and somebody else's argument. Ruthie typed with 2 fingers. Fast, Marlene spoke in short bursts, eyes wet, voice shaking. February 1st, Marlene said. Rusk delivered the list. Ruthie typed. Names. Marlene swallowed. Judge Harlan's clerk, Sykes, and a bailiff named Cranston. They were told to keep it moving. Ruthie paused. That phrase. Marlene nodded. Harlan says it like it's his religion. Leon paced the room, jittery. Eddie stood by the window watching the street. Miss Odessa sat in a chair that creaked with every breath, eyes fixed on Marlene like she was guarding her soul. When the affidavit was done, Bumpy set it on the table. Blank signature line waiting. Bumpy slid a small red stamp toward Ruthie. It wasn't official. It didn't claim to be. It just said, in block letters, Chambers only the memory hook. A red mark that made people sit up straight. Ruthie stared. Where'd you get this? Miss Odessa's voice was soft. Same place the city gets theirs. Marlene's hands shook. If I sign this, I'm dead. Bumpy leaned in. Calm. You won't be dead, he said. You'll be inconvenient. Marlene blinked. That's not reassuring. Bumpy's eyes didn't blink. It's accurate. Marlene stared at the paper like it was a coffin lid. Then she grabbed the pen, and she signed. Ruthie stamped it once. Hard Chambers only bled red into the page like a wound. Freeze that, because the stamp doesn't make it true. It makes it hard to pretend you never saw it. Complication 1 hit immediately. A knock at the door. Not neighborly, not casual. 3 taps. Slowdy's head turned sharply. We got company. Leon's eyes went wide. Who is it? A voice through the door, calm and familiar. Mr. Johnson, Lionel Rusk called. We should talk. Ruthie's breath caught. Marlene's face drained. Odessa's eyes narrowed like she'd expected this. Bumpy didn't move fast. He moved certain. Back stair, Eddie whispered. Ruthie grabbed the affidavit, and complication 2 arrived with footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, patient, Moe Varga's soft shoes. Leon swallowed hard. He's here. Bumpy took the affidavit from Ruthie, folded it once, and slid it into the inside pocket of his jacket like it belonged there. Then he walked to the door and opened it. Lionel Rusk stood smiling, tie clip straight, eyes friendly like a doctor, behind him. Moe rubbed his ring with the handkerchief. Easy, Moe murmured. To nobody, Rusk's smile widened. I hope we're not interrupting. Bumpy returned a small smile, polite, empty. You are, Bumpy said. But go ahead. Rusk glanced past Bumpy into the apartment, sniffing the air like he could smell paper. I heard you're collecting stories, Rusk said, voice warm. Stories can be dangerous. Ruthie stepped into view. Chin high. So can lies. Rusk chuckled. Let's not be dramatic. Moe's eyes stayed flat. Bumpy's voice stayed soft. You came for something. Rusk's smile didn't move. I came to offer advice. Bumpy nodded once, then offer it. Rusk adjusted his tie clip. Don't embarrass the court. Bumpy's eyes held his. Don't embarrass yourself. Silence stretched. Moe rubbed the ring slower. Easy, Moe murmured again. Rusk's gaze flicked to Leon, reading his fear like a headline. And that's when the fracture opened. Because Rusk didn't threaten Bumpy first. He tempted Leon. Rusk's voice softened. Leon, right. You're young. You don't have to get dragged into other men's problems. Leon blinked. I'm not. Rusk leaned closer, lowering his voice. You bring me what your boss is hiding, and you walk away clean. Money, a job, a fresh start. That was the mistake. Trying to buy loyalty in front of a queen and a witness. Leon's hands shook. He looked at Bumpy, then he looked at Rusk. His mouth opened, half panic, half temptation. "I could." Leon started. Miss Odessa's voice cut through, quiet but sharp enough to sting. "Baby," she said, "a man who sells secrets buys enemies on credit." Leon swallowed. Shame flooded his face. Bumpy didn't scold him. He just spoke one sentence, calm as night. "Leon," Bumpy said, "don't rent your name." Leon clenched his jaw. "No," he said, voice shaking, "no deal." Rusk's smile tightened, the friendliness cracking at the edges. Moe's hand paused on the ring. "Easy," Moe whispered, but it sounded less confident now. Bumpy leaned slightly forward, voice soft. "You came to trap me with paper," Bumpy said. "But you just showed my people who you are. See you on stage. Day 4, the courthouse felt colder when you knew your name was in someone's mouth. Judge Harlan's courtroom was painted beige like it was trying to look neutral. It smelled like floor wax and nervous sweat. The benches were hard enough to punish you for sitting." Bumpy sat calm. Ruthie sat behind him, notepad hidden. Eddie leaned against a pillar, eyes on exits. Miss Odessa sat like she owned the air. Leon hovered near the back, determined not to blink at the wrong time. Lionel Rusk walked in smiling, tie clip shining. Moe Varga followed, soft shoes, ring handkerchief. On the other side, a bailiff leaned against the wall like he enjoyed boredom. Judge Harlan entered, robe swinging, rubber band snapping once around his fingers. "Keep it moving," Harlan said before anyone spoke. Rusk stood, smooth. "Your Honor, we're here on a petition concerning Mr. Johnson's." Judge Harlan snapped the rubber band again. "Keep it moving." Rusk smiled as if he loved efficiency. "This is a matter of public order," Rusk continued. "Mr. Johnson has been intimidating tenants and obstructing lawful redevelopment efforts." Ruthie's pen froze. Odessa's eyes narrowed. Leon's stomach dropped. Bumpy didn't move. Rusk leaned into the lie like it was furniture. "He's the reason this neighborhood can't progress," Rusk said. Bumpy finally spoke. "Calm. Name one tenant." Bumpy said. Rusk's smile stayed. "Excuse me." Bumpy's voice didn't rise. "Name one tenant I intimidated with a date." Rusk's tie clip shifted under his fingers. He chuckled. "Your Honor, this isn't." Judge Harlan snapped the rubber band. "Answer the question or sit down." Rusk blinked. That wasn't supposed to happen. He recovered quickly, reaching for a file folder. "February 2nd, Rusk said. "A tenant at 228. Bumpy interrupted softly. "That tenant moved out in January." Silence tightened. Ruthie's eyes flicked up. Eddie's jaw tightened. Odessa's lips pressed together, satisfied. Rusk's smile wobbled. "That's not my understanding," Rusk said. Bumpy's voice stayed calm. "Because your understanding is theater." Judge Harlan's eyes narrowed. Rubber band snapped. "Keep it moving." Rusk attempted to pivot. "Your Honor, Mr. Johnson has a history." Bumpy cut in. Still soft. "History isn't evidence." Rusk's cheeks flushed. Moe rubbed his ring faster. "Easy," Moe murmured, like he was talking to himself. Day 6. The night before the final hearing, the city tried one more squeeze. Savoy Deli got inspected. Odessa received a tax notice, stamped urgent. Ruthie got a friendly warning from a man who didn't show a badge, but spoke like he owned one. Lelion was followed home by a car that stayed 2 lengths behind. Steady, patient. That's how the system whispers. "We know where your door is." They met in Savoy's back room. Refrigerator humming, metal chair legs scraping tile. Ruthie set her jaw. "They're pressuring everyone," Eddie nodded. "They want the affidavit gone." Leon's hands shook. "What if they take it?" Bumpy's voice stayed even. "They won't." Odessa lifted her tea. "Baby, you sound sure." Bumpy's eyes held hers. "Because It's already somewhere they can't reach without showing their hand. Ruthie blinked. Where? Bumpy didn't answer with a place, he answered with a concept. In the light, he said. Paper can kill you in this town. But paper in the light can kill a lie. Day 7, 8:59 a.m. The 11th of February, 1935. Courtroom 6A, Westbridge Municipal. Where the fluorescent buzz sounds like a swarm and the air feels like it's holding its breath. The benches filled early, not because people loved the law, because people loved to see power stumble. Rusk arrived with confidence stretched thin. Judge Harlan entered, rubber band snapping. Keep it moving, Harlan said, already irritated. Rusk stood, voice smooth. Your Honor, we seek an order restricting Mr. Johnson's activities. Bumpy rose slowly. Before you do, Bumpy said, calm, I have one question. Judge Harlan frowned. This is not your hearing. Bumpy's eyes didn't blink. Then it should be. A murmur rippled. Rusk smiled tight. Your Honor, this is a tactic. Bumpy nodded slightly. Yes. Judge Harlan snapped the rubber band. Keep it moving. Bumpy's voice stayed soft, but it reached. Your Honor, Bumpy said, did you receive a list of Harlem addresses from Mr. Rusk on February 1st? Silence. Freeze that. Because the courtroom didn't expect a date. Dates make lies sweat. Rusk's tie clip shifted under his fingers. Quick, nervous. Objection, Rusk snapped. Irrelevant. Judge Harlan hesitated. Rubber band snapped again, but weaker. Answer, Harlan said, voice sharp. Did you? Rusk's smile faltered. He tried to laugh. Your Honor, this is absurd, mechanically undeniable. Ruthie's breath caught. A clerk in the corner stopped writing. A man in the gallery dropped his hat without noticing. Judge Harlan's gavel slipped and hit the block wrong. Cracking sideways, a dull, ugly sound. Rusk's coffee. He shouldn't have had it at counsel's table, but confidence makes men sloppy, tipped and spilled across his notes. Brown spreading like panic. Moe Varga's hand stopped rubbing the ring. Easy, he whispered, but it came out like a plea. No big speech, just a few lines. Bumpy's voice stayed calm. That affidavit is from a court clerk, Bumpy said. It names dates, names, and your phrase. Judge Harlan's eyes narrowed. My phrase. Bumpy didn't smile. Keep it moving. A ripple ran through the courtroom like a gust. Rusk's face tightened. Forgery. Ruthie's voice cut in from the bench, sharp. Then ask the clerk to read it under oath. Judge Harlan's jaw flexed. He stared at the red stamp, like it was staring back. Rusk leaned in, sweating now, tie clips sliding under trembling fingers. Your Honor, Rusk said quickly, this is a publicity stunt. Bumpy's eyes stayed steady. No, Bumpy said, it's a timeline. Judge Harlan looked up, voice colder. Is the affiant present? Harlan asked. The room held its breath. Eddie nodded once toward the aisle. Marlene Quill stood up from the back bench, pale, shaking but upright. I'm here, she said. Rusk's face drained. That was the flip. Suddenly the lawyer wasn't the hunter. He was the one standing in front of a light with nowhere to hide. Judge Harlan's gavel hovered. Approach, he snapped. Marlene walked forward. Rusk opened his mouth, then closed it. Because he knew, if he bullied her, he'd look guilty. If he dismissed her, he'd look careless. If he questioned her, he'd risk details. Paper can kill you in this town. But paper can also corner you. Judge Harlan read silently, rubber band forgotten. The room watched his eyes move. Then Judge Harlan looked up. And for the first time, his voice wasn't rushed. It was careful. This court will take a recess, Harlan said, a visible reaction. Real, human, the bailiff blinked like he'd never heard the judge pause. The gallery exhaled. Rusk grabbed his spilled papers, hands shaking, coffee staining his fingertips. Moe Varga leaned toward Rusk, whispering for once. "Easy," Moe murmured, but it sounded like he didn't believe it. Judge Harlan stood, but before he left, he snapped one order like a door slamming. "Mr. Rusk?" Harlan said. "Remain." Rusk froze. Freeze that. Because that's what it looks like when the system realizes it might have been used right in public. Hour 2. They tried to resist in the back office. Of course they did. Rusk argued procedure. He argued relevance. He argued public safety. He tried to seize the affidavit, call it contaminated, call it theatrics. Judge Harlan's clerk tried to misfile it, but Ruthie was there with notes. Eddie was there with a witness. Miss Odessa was there with a phone call waiting to happen. And Bumpy? Bumpy didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just kept saying dates. Power isn't always a gun. It's a timeline. And timelines don't care about charisma. Eventually, the institution yielded, not out of goodness, but out of survival. Judge Harlan ordered an inquiry into the address list. He denied Rusk's petition, and he warned, on the record, that any further coordination between private counsel and court administration would be treated as contempt. Rusk's face stayed tight, but his eyes were wet with rage. Moe Varga rubbed his ring again, slower. "Easy," he murmured, and now it sounded like a prayer. Consequences hit like dominoes. First consequence, Rusk's access got colder. Not a dramatic arrest. Not a magical downfall. Just doors that stopped opening. Clerks stopped returning calls. Judges stopped taking his quick chats. The courthouse didn't ban him. Courthouses rarely admit mistakes that loudly, but it watched him now. Second consequence, the renewal paperwork slowed. Inspections didn't disappear, but they became cautious. Notices came with more signatures, more dates, more eyes. Because once a machine feels observed, it behaves. Third consequence. Bumpy's reputation changed shape. Some folks said he defended Harlem. Some said he defended himself. Both can be true. Justice and revenge share the same street. They just wear different coats, and the team paid the cost. That same week, Leon got grabbed by a patrolman and questioned for an hour for nothing. Ruthie's editor got a warning call. Print careful. Miss Odessa got audited twice. Eddie's shop got inspected until the inspectors got bored. Marlene Quill. She didn't get killed. She got moved. A quiet transfer to a different office. Punishment disguised as administration. The system doesn't always break you with violence. Sometimes it breaks you with relocation. That's why Bumpy visited her once, weeks later with a small envelope and no speech. Just a nod. A favor returned, because the city runs on favors, and debts get paid, one way or another. Late one night, back in Savoy d'Ali, Bumpy sat under the fluorescent buzz. Coffee cooling, Leon hovered nearby, older now in the eyes. "I almost took his offer," Leon admitted quietly. Bumpy didn't look up right away. Then he spoke, soft. "Almost ain't a crime," Bumpy said. "But it's a warning." Ruthie leaned in, conflicted. "You turned the courthouse into a stage." Bumpy nodded once. "They built the stage first." Eddie exhaled. "Schultz won't like losing." Bumpy's eyes lifted. "Calm. Men like that don't like anything," Bumpy said. "They tolerate." Miss Odessa sipped her tea and delivered a proverb, like it was a verdict. "Baby," she said, "a bully loves the dark because the dark can't testify." Bumpy's mouth twitched, half smile, half sadness. Then he gave the moral line, clean and quotable. "In a rigged system, you don't win by swinging harder. You win by making your enemy explain his timeline." And before the night swallowed the last of the diner's warmth, Bumpy added one more. Quieter. "A courtroom ain't holy, it's rented. And rent always comes due." So if that affidavit stamp, chambers only, made your stomach drop, if you felt the gavel hit wrong and the room go silent, hit like and subscribe, because these stories aren't about guns. They're about power. And tell me in the comments, was Bumpy chasing justice? Or was he just getting cleaner revenge? Next time. We're going back to Harlem for a different kind of trap. One charity fundraiser, one missing receipt, and a minister who learns the hard way that the devil doesn't always wear horns. Sometimes he wears a suit and asks you to sign.